Alright, hey everyone. So in this video we are going to solve an issue with the SuperBurban. As you can see here, it shifts down into normal gears, but it will not go into park. So the reason for this is because of the cable that is bound up under the carpet. So these vehicles have a cable that runs from the shifter here all the way down. You can actually see the cable underneath the dash. Right there. That's the cable right there. Looks good there. It looks clean all up under the dash. But as it runs along here, it runs along here, and it goes to about right there where it goes through the body to the other side. And I don't know if I can actually show it, but I took this trim piece up. I could not get the screws in the back up because they're completely rusted. So I'll either break it or just take it up partially here. But you can feel, or I can feel with my hand, underneath there is actually, yeah, there is the cable. I don't think you can see it though. But it is, oh yeah, you can actually see a pretty good view of it. It's essentially just rusted through its sheath, and so when you go to put it in park, it just pokes out of that sheath. So a quick fix, which I may try, is to zip tie around that spot and kind of create a new sheath around it. We'll see if that works temporarily, but I've got a new cable on order, which means we'll have to take this carpet up and get to the spot where it actually goes to the carpet over there. Not a fun job. Seems pretty simple, but it's actually pretty annoying. So I can see I've got some rust beginning to form there on the body, which is not fun. So we'll get this done and then go from there. Here's a closer look of the problem on the 96 Suburban. So this is the shifter cable, and you can see the sheath that it rides in is all corroded and rusted through. So what happens is when you go to push the lever into park, this cable gets pushed all the way down there. It actually loops around that seat, and then goes through the floor and then to the transmission. It's kind of a long journey. And if you don't have, the way cables work like this, when you're pushing them, if you don't have a sheath around it, it just pokes out of that sheath and extends out into here instead of actually moving the transmission into park. Not sure why it only happens in park. I assume as it gets worse, it would happen elsewhere, but it looks like this piece right there just finally broke through. This has been rusted for a while. So we have a number of creative solutions here. This could be one of the hackiest things we've done in a while. I'd love to make this work, but I don't think it would. This is copper nickel brake line. I'd have to slice that down the side all the way down and slide it over that wire. But I don't think I'm going to take the time to do that. I could probably take a Dremel and do it, but that would just take forever, and I don't think it's going to work. Next is, or the default solution here that I've read online, is just take a bunch of zip ties and zip tie around it and create a new kind of sheath where you have a zip tie close enough all along that it can't stick out. So that's the fallback, but I'd really like to have an actual, kind of protective layer going all the way around the cable. So I've got some hosing here, might be able to make this work. This is just, nylon hose or something. So I might try that, but I actually think that I'm going to use some romex cable with zip ties. So I think I'm just going to cut this sheath out and try to use this sheath to kind of rebuild the sheath from all the way up there. We'll go all the way along down to there. May go even further, although it's probably okay down by this clip, but we'll go all the way to that clip. I don't really want to take the seat out today. It's looking like to replace this thing completely, the seat does have to come out, which I don't have the part yet, so today is going to be a little bit of a temporary fix. This kind of feels like one of those things that's a temporary fix that's good enough to last for years potentially. So I'm going to take a shot at this. I'm going to try to cut this cable really clean down the outside and take the wires out of it, and then slip it over the shifter cable and then zip tie it. So we'll see. This is definitely in the territory of good enough. All right, we got the cable cut, or the wire cut, household wire cut. And you can see, I think this is going to create exactly what I want. It doesn't really have to hold the cable back. The zip ties will do that. But what it'll do is it'll create sort of a protective sheath around the whole thing, just to keep dirt and grime out of there and rust out. I really want to get this nice and clean though. Unfortunately, this one is so bad. I think we have to rely on the structural, what is still structure there, to hold this cable together. This will not be enough structure, so we have to keep this there. And try to cover it up, but I'd like to get as much of that dirt out of there as possible. You can see it's just beginning to go, you know, it's like a spiral bound cable and it's beginning to go everywhere. So I don't know, I don't love this, but I think it's going to work for today. I'll come back once I get it all put back together. All right, so not completely done, but I wanted to kind of give a mid-progress update here. So I have to be honest, I'm not very happy with how this is turning out. I kind of wish if we had like a 12.3 instead of 12.2 wiring, the sheathing would be just a little bit bigger. It's been quite hard to get it to set in place. I can't get it to just stay in place. I have to hold it, put a zip tie on it, and once the zip tie is in place, it kind of stays the way I want it, but I think it will work. It's very thin, so I think it's probably going to wear through pretty quick, and then the zip ties will just do the job after that. But it is working. I mean, I think it is working, but I'm just gonna have to put a zip tie like every inch. So I'm actually about done. Well, I think this part's gonna be a little easier because there's actually less sheathing around it, and so I think the romex is gonna go more around. It'll create a more of a closed loop, and then I'm gonna go like all the way up to there so I can zip tie really strong up here. So I think it'll work, but it's maybe not quite as elegant as I was hoping. But I mean, look at this. Nothing about this is elegant. So we will finish up, and I'll record kind of the final solution here once I clip all these zip ties off. So this is the finished product. I'll trim those ends off, but you can see it connects almost all the way around where the cable is just one solid cable, which is good. One of the more hacky things I've done, but I think it's gonna hold and I think it's gonna work. I've not tested it yet, so before I cut all these off, I'm gonna sit in the car and we'll test it right now. I had to you can adjust the cable a little bit down below where it connects to the transmission, so it's possible to adjust the length a little, and I did that just to get the cable to sit inside of its sheath cleanly. I didn't want it sticking out when we went to do this. Sorry for the beeping. Okay, so there's reverse and there's park. It's a little weak. You can see the cable moving when I shift. Yeah, bummer. Okay, so I see where the problem is at. You can see right there, it's opening up. So I'm gonna have to tie it together a little bit there, I think, before this will work. Sorry for the beeping. So right there, it's breaking out of there, and it looks like bummer. That's what we didn't want. So it looks like the whole sheath has actually split. So now there's not actually structure to it, so the cable will push. I think I can sort of restore that structure, but that's quite a bummer. So what I'm going to try to do is slide that back together, and then I may have to like create a zip tie connection between those. This is going to be a little hacky. So I mean, that's all holding together. That's where it's worse. It's actually right here is not the worst spot, but it actually broke all the way through. So I guess it is the worst spot. So we'll mess with that and see where we can get, and then try again. So this is where this is one of those situations where things started out pretty nice and tidy, and turned into redneck hackery pretty quick. This probably does not qualify as good enough, but it is actually working. So when you exercise the shifter now, you can see, so that's reverse. I'll go down through the gears here. There's drive. So now we'll go back. So there's neutral and reverse, and there's park. And you can see the tension on this. It ends up, you know, pulling all this stuff, and I added I added these sort of longitudinal zip ties to just hold it all together, and it is working. I'm quite disappointed in how this turned out, but this hack really only works if the cable, the sheath to the cable, is still intact all the way along the length of the cable. Even if a side of it is ripped up, it'll still work. But in our case, the cable completely broke, like right in there. So all this is just to kind of wrap around that and then hold it together, because when that cable pushes, the sheath wants to push apart. And if the sheath pushes apart, then the cable doesn't actually do what it's supposed to do. So I'm going to bring in the hacker tool of choice here and wrap all this in duct tape and cover it up, and probably rip all this back apart when I get the part to replace it properly. But who knows? Maybe it'll last for months or years. There's a lot of plastic in here. It's wrapped up pretty tight. So I'll do one more video once it's all buttoned up, everything's back together, and it's working. All right, we're here with the SuperBurban. Just gonna confirm that we fixed the issue with the shifter cable. Kind of covering up the evidence here with the carpet and the mat, but you can see, I'm gonna probably have to step back a little bit. You can see the big bulge that's under the carpet right now because of that mass of duct tape and zip ties under there. So right there is where that section's at, and the carpet doesn't sit down very good, but it is fine. It works. That's the main thing. So we'll show that really quick. We'll get a beeping noise here once I put the keys in. So the goal here, remember, the did not shift into park. So see, we're in reverse, neutral, drive. As we go up, it clicks properly into park pretty smoothly, actually. I'm not putting any effort on the shifter there. I don't have to like jiggle or anything. It just snaps right into place. So it's working really well. I don't know how long that's going to last, but it works. It holds, goes into park every time, and the fix worked. We have the part that we've ordered, so we may film a video of actually replacing it with the proper part. But as long as it's working for now, we have some other projects we got to do. We'll get back to this one. This is our secondary vehicle now, so the main vehicle I drive is in the shop getting some body work done. So we will rely on it, so we may be back here fixing it sooner than later if it breaks again. But for right now, it's working just fine.